Here for more insight is NBC News legal analyst Misty Marris. Misty, let's start with those photos, because to a lot of people, they were surprised to see that. Take us through what you saw. And from an attorney's perspective, when you have a client in this position, how do you advise them to interact and deal with something like a photographer from the press close potentially up to where they are?
Yeah, it's difficult, especially in this courtroom. The photographers come in and it's a real quick moment. And so what's captured is not necessarily indicative of the way that he's actually engaging with his attorneys in the court throughout the course of the hearing. But what you say is you got to sit there and look not guilty. I know that sounds funny, but it really is the advice that's given. You look like you're taking everything seriously. You're not acting in front of the cameras or creating these what we would call viral moments. You're sitting there and you're looking like this is a proceeding that you're taking with the seriousness of the nature of what is actually happening in that courtroom.
Let's talk about what we heard on the stand today, because we'll remind viewers there are two big issues that are being dealt with here, right? Whether or not items, including the alleged murder weapon that were obtained in a backpack Mangione had with him prior to having a search warrant, whether or not that evidence can be admitted when this goes to trial. Then also questions about statements he made prior to being read his Miranda rights, about 17 minutes of statements, right? There was this one moment where during cross, there were questions about how something was recorded when there was a conversation back at the Altoona, Pennsylvania police precinct. The DA said that they were going to get rid of those witnesses' statements. What actually happened there?
Yeah, so this was interesting because we focused a lot on those statements that happened at the McDonald's, but back at the Altoona Police Department, Mangione was brought into a room. Detective Leonardi from the NYPD was in there, and apparently he said, "I want a lawyer, I'm not talking." They leave, but a camera was set up. So we saw in cross-examination the defense start to say, well, isn't Pennsylvania a two-party state? So, Ellison, this is really relevant. Someone has to consent to being recorded. That the camera should not have been in there was the implication. They went up to the judge, had a sidebar, and the prosecutor said, we're not going to use those statements. So the cross-examination stopped, and we're never going to know what Luigi Mangione might have said to himself in that courtroom because it will not come in, and prosecutors aren't asking for it to come into the courtroom.
But that doesn't mean anything he said prior to being Miranda's. The judge hasn't decided that, right? It's just this moment.
Separate issues about these statements, each of them being treated individually.
All right. Misty Marris, thank you so much. We appreciate it.